welcome in this new video where we are going to add some clouds to our planet. In the last video we created the material for the ground, and right now it is about time to add some clouds. So this is my usual scene, and basically clouds will be above the surface of the earth. So the easiest way to do this will be to hit Shift D to duplicate the sphere, which is the land, and I'm going to rename this to something like clouds. Super creative name. Both of the clouds and the land are two spheres, and they are basically on top of each other and they are overlapping. We don't want that. We want the sphere of the clouds to be slightly bigger than the sphere of the land. So make sure you're selecting your clouds and jump to the object properties, and you will have here an option for the scale, which will basically allow you to make it either bigger or smaller. In our case, we want it to be slightly bigger than the land. That's why the value that I found that kind of work is 1.001, which is slightly bigger. And this is the keyword, slightly bigger. Right now, nothing happened because the clouds still have the material of the land. So to fix this, just make sure you click on this to basically delete that material from the clouds, and we will have a white sphere. Perfect. Right now we have the cloud sphere and we're ready to start doing some shading. Let's create a new material for the clouds by clicking on new, and let's rename this to clouds. In the resources folder that comes with this course, under the 4K or the 8K textures, you will find the clouds, earth clouds. And this is the map we will use to add some clouds to our scene. So I'm going to drag it into Blender. Let's put it here. And right now, let's figure out a way of how to make this system works. If I hit Control Shift and click on the clouds to see exactly how it looks like, Control Shift and click on it, this is how our clouds is looking. And the first problem that you will notice is that it is mapped in a wrong way on the surface of the sphere. That's why I'm going to hit Control T to add a mapping node to it, the usual workflow. I'm going to change it from here to from UV to generated, and make sure to change it from flat to sphere. And right now we will have perfect mapping of the clouds on the surface of a sphere. Step number 2 will be somehow to figure out a way to tell Blender that, hey, Blender, leave the white areas the way they are, and for the black areas, make sure they are transparent. Because if we imagine that these black areas are transparent, the earth or the surface of the earth will be visible in the black areas, and that's exactly what we want. We want to leave the white and get rid of the blacks. And what is the thing that controls transparency, let's say? What is the thing that will leave white and will get rid of black? It is alpha. So if you notice in this principle BSDF, if I just scroll down, you will have here an option for alpha. If I drag it way down, basically this will be super transparent, and it is not super transparent for a reason, because I'm still looking at the earth clouds. So Control Shift and click on your principle BSDF, and as you can see, it is transparent, but not the way I imagined it. Okay, there is a slight problem, is that when I change the alpha, nothing is happening, because I should be able to see the surface of the ground. What is causing this problem? My first hunch will be that in the render settings, transparent, we set it up to 0. We need this to be something like 12. So now it makes sense. Now it works the way we intended. Make sure that this number is not 0, it is 12. Earlier, when I was setting up all of these different settings, I just glanced over it and changed it to 0. So the most important thing is that this alpha will control which areas are transparent and which areas are opaque. So if I take the color out of the earth clouds and bring it into the alpha, we got some clouds. If I fly around the earth, this is looking pretty sick. What we're doing is basically to use this earth clouds as a mask to tell Blender which areas are transparent and which areas are not. And in reality, what controls the color of the clouds is not this map, it is the base color. So if I change, for example, this to blue, as you can see, we're changing the color of the clouds to blue. I'm going to set this basically to white because that's what I want. And right now we have some clouds going. To make them even better, we might add some slight subsurface scattering to them. So in the subsurface scattering radius, make sure to set all of these to 1. And let's add something like 0.001. Make sure you do this in really tiny values. And at the same time, clouds tend to have some volume to them, or they're not just a flat 2D sphere around the Earth. They have some height to them. And that's exactly what we will try to fake right now. What is the thing that will allow us to add some bumpiness or some displacement to clouds? It is basically the displacement socket. And this is exactly what we will do right now. So let's go Shift A and let's look for displacement. Let's put it here. And I'm going to use the same Earth clouds to do the displacement workflow. So I'm going to take the color and plug it to height, and take the displacement and plug it to displacement. And something is happening. First thing I always like to verify is to jump to the material properties, and from surface, bump only, make sure it is set to displacement and bump. And something is going. We're adding a lot of bumpiness or a lot of displacement to our clouds. This is not exactly what we want. So let's play a little bit with the settings of the displacement. First thing, the mid-level should be set to 0. We want it to be calculated from the bottom up or from the 0 point up. We don't want it to be calculated from the middle. Step number 2 will be to change the scale, because right now this is way too strong. So let's change the scale from something like 1 to something more suitable like 0.1. And this is still pretty strong. So let's try 0.001. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, this is looking pretty decent. The effect is pretty subtle, and that's exactly what we want. The only thing is that you might notice is that it is pretty low res. This is because of two reasons. First of all, there is not enough geometry in the sphere clouds. If I just hit tab for a second, as you can see, there is not much geometry here. And number 2 is that we're using a 4K texture, so it is not the highest resolution image possible. But for now, I'm going to stick to the 4K texture. The only thing I'm going to do is to add a subdivision modifier to this by going to add modifier and subdivision surface. And you can crank this number, for example, to 3, and this is 1 to 2. This is how you can add some clouds to your shot. The last thing I'm going to do is to hit 0 to jump back to my camera view, and this is what my camera is seeing. And surprisingly, I don't like this angle that much. That's why I'm going to select the land, jump to the object properties, and I'm going to rotate it slightly on the Z-axis until I get a better view. Something that looks like so. So at the end of the day, we settled on America, just like in movies. So yeah, either way, everyone, I'm going to leave it at this for now, and maybe we can change some values here and there in the future. But as how to add some clouds, this is the workflow for it. Make sure you save your file, and I will see you in the next video where we will add some atmosphere to this scene, which will actually make this look like an actual Earth. So yeah, I will see you everyone in the next video.